Good evening. Tonight we bring to you a special broadcast because it has been a historic day. The win by the Indian cricket team, magnificent, extraordinary, unforgettable, and however other many words and adjectives you can really find to describe what we've witnessed not just today but in the last few weeks. What our young team, riddled with injuries, riddled with other challenges, be it COVID rules or the isolation, and of course, many of them extremely inexperienced, what our young team managed to achieve. Honestly, viewers, it's a life lesson in overcoming odds, which is why we've decided to do this special 2-hour broadcast where we say thank you to Team India. And we're going to open up our phone lines for you to call up and share your favorite moment or share your message and send your wishes. Because this wasn't just a cricket match. This wasn't just a test series. It was an example at how you can beat any challenge with sheer grit, determination, hard work and teamwork. Now, I don't want this to sound like an MBA Gyan session, but I believe we truly needed this win. And I don't just mean it from the point of view of cricket, that this cricket team needed the win, or cricket team needed to break the barriers at Gabba and set more records, or from the point of view of just the careers of the cricketers, or from the international team ratings point of view. I mean, we, all of us, needed this win. Whether you love the sport and watch it constantly and follow it constantly or not, we've all gone through a really tough time, an extremely challenging time. We've been surrounded by bad news and worse news and many, many challenges. But this is that one thing that seems to have united our country together. I don't think too many people were working this morning. Everybody was glued to their TV sets. And there's a reason for that. We all needed this positive news, this victory, to be reminded that no matter how difficult the challenges are and what life throws at us, you can always overcome that. And we've got a very special lineup for you. We've got friends and families and coaches of our stars who will be joining us on the special conversation. But first up, I want to go across to Vinay Tewari, an avid cricket fan. I think that would be an understatement, but I'll let Vinay describe himself. But Vinay is also joining us to tell us about, the series of challenges, the odds that we beat, beginning with the injuries, of course, Vinay.
Yes, thank you, Tanvi. On the screen right behind me, there'll be a list of names that will come up very soon. And these 22 gentlemen that you'll see, their names very soon, are people who've, aren't we glad that they're Indians? There are three parts to what we're going to talk about today. The first is, of course, the odds that were stacked from injuries to mind games to the emotional test. I'll talk about the injuries and Aarti will talk about the mind games and the emotional test that Indians had to go through. Now, here is the list of that name. Those 22 Indians who can be replaced in a dictionary with their names. You can remove all these adjectives and superlatives that you have in the book of dictionaries and synonyms and put their names there and they'll all be in the same. 20 people, and there are two right here, which we've put under the head called net bowlers, and I'll explain to you what that means. This was the team that was originally selected to travel to Australia after the IPL and represent India in the three series, in the 4 test series that we played there. Now remember, the top two names there on top, Captain Virat Kohli and Rohit Sharma, the vice captain, actually ended up playing only one match each. Kohli, because obviously he became a father and had to travel back for paternity leave, and Rohit Sharma, because he was in a bio bubble having recovered from the injury and couldn't join the team right away. So you had a situation where two of the best players of the team were not available for 3 of the 4 games. But then what happens next over the next 4 games? Something unprecedented happened in the list, in the history of Indian cricket. All the red circles that you see here are players who sustained injuries in the series. Rishabh Pant played while he was injured. Mohammad Shami broke his arm. Umesh Yadav sustained a hamstring injury. Ravindra Jadeja played with a broken thumb. R. Ashwin in searing pain. His mother today confirmed to us that he was playing in extreme pain and that as a mother she was extremely proud of him playing in pain. Hanuma Vihari batted the whole of that resolute innings that he did in Sydney in pain. And strangely enough, we had a case where a player got injured even when he was not in the team, KL Rahul, who got injured while batting in the nets. You could have never imagined a team undergoing so many injuries in one series, which virtually completely change the nature and the shape and form of the team that we would have for the final test. In fact, there was for a long time, there was a feeling that we may not even have 11 fit players to be fielded in the fourth and the final test. So what happens? Two net bowlers, T. Natarajan and Shardul Thakur. Remember, they were asked to come along with the Indian team after the IPL because the Indian team needed quality net practice. They were not part of the original squad. These two gentlemen played the test match as well. And now we all know what really happened. A fairy tale of victory, a fairy tale of success, and a life lesson on how, as Tanvi rightly put, we've had a year and we had the last 8 months, which were possibly the most distressing that we've ever seen. Unimaginable problems and handicaps that we've all faced, including the cricketers who were also in a lockdown. And remember, they all came out of the lockdown, went into playing cricket in a bio-bubble, restricted to the rooms, battled one controversy after another, and a spate of injuries, the level and extent to which we've never seen before, only to finally conquer and do what no other team has ever done before. In the over 35 years or so, no team has ever defeated the Australians in the Gabba test match, which we did today. Not just that, we broke several other records as well, and I guess over the next 2 hours or so, we'll talk a lot about that. But that for you, and this bunch that you see on the screen, is the sign and sight of heroism against all odds. And am I glad that India is being represented by 20 young men? And aren't we glad that India has the world's largest number of young people in the country? If this is what they represent, India is in great hands.
Yes, in fact, Justin Langer said that, in a country with over 1 billion, if you have 11 who are playing for this team, they obviously have to be, the toughest and the best. And never, ever, ever underestimate, the Indians and their skills. Thank you, Vinay. Of course, you'll be joining me in the studio as well in just a bit. But let me quickly, without wasting any more time, also go across to the special guests who are joining us this evening. Chitra Ravichandran, Ashwin's mother with us this evening. Shailaja Sundar, Washington Sundar's sister. Dinesh Lad, Shardul Thakur's coach, and Bharat Sundaresan, author of the Dhoni Touch, joins us this evening. I'm truly honored to have all of you here. Chitra, if I can begin with you, what was your first conversation like with Ashwin after them having won this series? Have you managed to speak to him yet?
See, we could speak. First and foremost, I take this opportunity to congratulate each and every member of the Indian cricket team. I just listened to his listing so many injuries, and I heard that 20 players have played all the 4 matches, which is really unacceptable for a team to travel 4 test matches. But I could speak to Ashwin. He was very, very sounding very happy. And in fact, he's elated, and he said it's really a wonderful victory, and yes, it's very fabulous, and they're all very happy.
I am sure they all are, as we are. We truly elated with what's happened and what we've got to witness, the kind of game and the sporting spirit that we actually got to witness. Chitra Ravichandran, I wanted to understand, when was the last time you actually were able to see Ashwin? How long has it been since he's been away in isolation in a bio bubble?
See, Ashwin has been, been in an isolation and bio bubble since IPL days.
Yes.
Which is almost since August of last year, and almost 5 months have gone by, and really a tough time, and people really struggled too much, to go through the isolation and struggling to cope up with the bio bubble concept and procedures and protocols. With all this and with all the injuries and everything, and the team could achieve this much, and really great to win a back-to-back series in Australia. It's unimaginable, and it's really a great achievement. And I heard that Australia hasn't lost match for the last 32 years. This is the first time they lost a test match in Australia itself, in their own home soil, which is really, I'm really, really happy. See, the reality is, whoever came into the team, and they really chipped in very nicely. They did their part very well, and the team gelled so much. We could see how their body languages were very, very strong, and they were really fighting tooth and nail, and really a wonderful display by the young Indian cricket team. In fact, people call them as an inexperienced team, but I will not call them inexperienced. They were really thrown into the ground, and they really displayed. They were not looking very amateur, like they were playing as if a veteran cricketer playing there. It was really a wonderful body language, and I could see the spark in their eyes, the desire to win the series, and it was wonderful. And we have to congratulate them so much.
Oh, absolutely. You're right. It's the young Indian team which was put in such a tough spot, and they emerged with flying colors. In fact, let me also say good evening to Shailaja and congratulations to her and her entire family. Shailaja, literally trial by fire for many of these young cricketers, including your brother.
Very good evening indeed, and first of all I'd like to wish and congratulate Team India, the management and the players for for this historical victory against Australia. And yes, it is indeed a very special day for all of us, and I'm so happy that India was able to pull off this victory in Australia against one of the top class pace and bowling attacks. So Australia generally plays very aggressive cricket, and the kind of character that the whole of Indian team showed throughout the series is commendable, and I'm so happy they did what they did.
Have you managed to speak to your brother yet? What was the first round of conversation that the family managed to have with him?
Of course, it was very happy to talk to him, and we wished him and congratulated the whole team right from here. And just we was just so overwhelmed. So the first initial few conversation was something on the lines of how he batted today, how he played through this match, and very happy indeed. All of us at home spoke to him. Yeah,
I am told that your father was extremely strict. He was a disciplinarian when you guys were growing up. That probably also had a role to play in how Washington has turned out to be this disciplined cricketer. What did your father have to say about Washington's performance?
It's a very emotional moment for all of us at home, and yes, my father has been a very strict taskmaster right from our childhood, not just in cricket, generally the way he goes about life. He's a very strict person. So I think, like you rightly said, that has really shaped Washington in becoming the cricketer that he's become, and the kind of grit and determination, how he persevered in the first innings. We were able to see how he was able to make a wonderful partnership with Shardul. I think that partnership really played a big hand in this test match, and also in today's innings he played a very good knock alongside Rishabh Pant. I think he didn't, to me it didn't look like a debutant was playing his first game. He played so effortlessly with so much of confidence, and he was kind of literally going after the Australian bowlers today, and it was all lovely to watch.
Yeah, actually I wanted to ask Shailaja one question. Honestly, I really want to ask you this question. Washi is 21, right? 21. Can you confirm that again for us? He's 21, right? I want viewers to know this. That's the age when you're not even allowed to enter a bar. At that age, he's carried the burden of a country of 130 crores and shown the whole world what mettle and toughness can be. That's quite as remarkable as it can get. He didn't look like a guy who was playing his first match. And he certainly didn't look like a 21-year-old who's just learning the ropes. He looked like a person who's been there for a long time.
Of course, he's only 21 years old. He was born on 5th of October 1999, so you can make the calculation. And yeah, over the years, he's played a lot of cricket alongside a lot of senior boys. Yeah, more often than not, his team is comprised of players elder than him, and I think that has also shaped him in becoming a very strong-minded cricketer, and being able to face some really tough situations and come out of it so effortlessly.
And I wanted to ask one more question to Chitraji, because I asked her this in the afternoon as well, that as a mother, it's not very easy for any mother to know that her son is in extreme pain. And in this test match, Ashwin was actually playing with intense pain. And she said that for her, her Indianness won over her being a mother, because obviously Ashwin would have any day chosen to play in pain, and as a mother she would have absolutely understood that. But I had a question. I mean, look, Ashwin has not just suffered pain here, he's also suffered the pain of being dealt with in different ways in his cricketing career. I mean, he's been in and out of the team. He was a mainstay for a very long time. He became a captain for his IPL team as well, then had to come out of it as well. So he's gone through quite a rigmarole of emotionally charged journey, and he's that kind of a player. I mean, you know, the uncutting that he did was an example of the kind of person he is. He doesn't take it, you know, lying down, and he's not the kind of person who holds back. But do you believe that over the years you've seen your son mature a little bit more and become a little more stable and calm about how he goes about his cricket?
See, you're absolutely right. And Ashwin's cricket career has been a roller coaster every time on and off. That's all there. But Ashwin is a character, a very strong character. He basically does what and all required to come back. You know, he bounces back in such a fashion that he can handle any situation in a better way. So that is the one thing which I've seen Ashwin doing it day in, day out. See, anything, any kind of, injuries or any kind of, situations, he makes sure that he works out something to handle that, to overcome that, and he come out victoriously, which is a very good character of Ashwin.
So as a mother, do you believe now that he's set all his demons at rest in terms of his cricketing future, and he's now going to be there for good? I mean, he's not going out of the team anytime soon. I mean, that's for sure.
Yeah, he's come out, whatever the injury we were talking, he's okay. He started practicing yesterday, day before and all. He's got absolute fitness again, and I'm very sure he'll do better. He'll do the best.
Oh yes, absolutely, and I think we're all rooting for him. In fact, let me also say good evening to Bharat Sundareshan. Bharat's so thrilled and excited that he's up at an extremely ungodly hour joining us at this time. But of course, it's Cricket Bharat and one of the biggest moments in our cricketing history.
I think this was the greatest test match win for India overseas ever. I think it is by far the greatest test series win for any team ever away from home. You just look at the circumstances. You guys have been talking about it, and it's so wonderful to listen to people who are actually involved with these cricketers, a mother and a sister, and to hear what they've been going through, sitting far away, wherever they are. I mean, I thought one of the best pieces written during this tour came from Mrs. Ashwin, Preeti, who I thought wrote an outstanding piece after the Sydney test, just, sitting with her daughters in a hotel room, just experiencing her husband pulling off this heist with all that pain, with explaining it to her daughters. I thought it was a great piece. Put us to shame, really. So thanks, Preeti, for that. It's just, how Australia is. You come here, you win, you make an impression on Australians. And I can tell you that Australians have fallen in love with not just this Indian team, but just the way, the spirit and the character of Indian cricket that these young guys have represented. I mean, look at the bowling attack we had here. A total experience of 4 test matches across 5 bowlers. You're up against the best fast bowling or best bowling quartet maybe ever for Australia with over 1,000 wickets. It's just an extraordinary achievement, and I think it'll take a few days and weeks for it to sink in, to actually realize what we have witnessed here in Australia and what the entire sporting world has witnessed. I think it was a significant moment in sport, not just in cricket.
And a quick answer, you must be having quite a vicarious wicked delight in being an Indian in Australia today. Have you rubbed your noses into anyone you ran into today? That must be surely purely a delightful experience, right? You're there and an Indian.
True, but my visa application is still in their hands, so I won't take too much of a chance.
Okay, then let me just read out some of those comments, and then Vinay, I would want you to respond to this. What is it that Ricky Ponting said? There could be a good chance of whitewash with Kohli not being there. There's almost no one to pick them up after a loss like that. What is it that Mark Walk said? I just can't see how they, India, can bounce back after Australia whitewashed them on the 3rd day in Adelaide, 4-0 to Australia. Michael Vaughan said, told ya India are going to get hammered in the test series. There are a few more.
There are a few
but,
more.
you get the gist. You get the gist of the kind of arrogant comments that we saw coming in from Australia, and then what our boys did.
Oh yes, and without jeopardizing Bharat's intention of getting another visa extension, let me say this. Look, the greatest delight for me has been the bringing down of the Aussie arrogance, so to speak, via this series. I mean, and for a team like this to do that, which was possibly a third string team, not even a second string team, you had players who were net bowlers playing actual matches. I mean, there couldn't have been a bigger and a better lesson for Team Australia, that you really need to keep your mouth shut and get your bat and your gloves and your ball to talk, and not so much with your mouth. And they have a history of that. I mean, from Shane Warne, legends of the game, no doubt. I mean, there is no disrespect to their cricketing achievement, but they certainly sometimes talk too much. And you have a legend like Smith, who comes and does the childish antic like rubbing off, Pant's, what you call batting guard. It's just childish, it's churlish, and I think they need to accept. And I think from that point of view, Justin Langer possibly did the good thing by the end of the series. He stood there in front of the kikes and said, that never make the mistake of ever underestimating India. Because he said if these are the 11 best players India has on a country of 130 crore, they will jolly well be good.
Yes, in fact, Shalja, do you want to come in on this? I'm sure there are conversations in your household. All of you, so much of love for cricket. You also play cricket. What's the conversation like about how to deal with the Australians?
Well, I think we should just play the kind of cricket that we know, and just focus on the game more than anything else. Those who want to talk will keep talking, but then what really matters is how well you go onto the field and perform, how well you perform for your team and make sure that they win. And that's what the boys have done. I'm so proud of what they've done, really.
In fact, Chitra, Ashwin actually had one of those conversations that then went viral during the last test match. I think it was also a reflection of how well prepared or how confident and aggressive our cricketers now are. Now, how does that happen? Is that something that Ashwin learned later on the field, or is that something that growing up got inculcated in him?
See, the Australians, when they were sensing the, the draw, they started basically doing the sludging, and they were trying to unsettle Ashwin. And Ashwin started giving it back. And at one stage, he decided not to play. Like, have you done? And so that I can start playing. But in fact, even after that, they really held the nerves, and then they started playing very nicely. And it was a good draw, actually. It was talked like as if it was a great victory. Like, that's really a great thing what the team could do. And it was really a wonderful thing.
I just wanted to tell one thing. I really think all of India through our channel must tell this to Chitra. Indian team is not just a greatly talented team. It's also a very, very well brought up team. And I must say this because it makes a lot of difference in how you perform on the field. It's a very well brought up team. And you can see this. Those typical good Indian middle class values can be seen. Even when Ashwin is giving it back to them, he was never really crossing the line. There was intelligence in it. There wasn't any arrogance or obscenity in it.
Yeah, he stopped at one stage. No, have you done? Then I can start playing. That was really a good thing, and it's nice actually. They could do that.
Yes, absolutely. In fact, even to know that you don't need to respond, to keep your own cool and to continue playing and just to keep smiling. Ajinkya Rahane simply smiling through everything that was being done and said around him to simply go and play the sport. I think also at some point would have unnerved the Australians. We have viewers calling in with messages and perhaps, some favorite moments that they want to share with us. Sriram's on the phone line calling us from Delhi. Good evening. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, good evening. I think this is a very resilient and resurgent Indian team. I think they were bruised, hit very, very hard, but they came back and showed what grit and determination they have. I think full marks to the Indian team. The most important piece is, I think the youngsters should be given an opportunity. That doesn't happen very much in India. There should be a policy of rotation where the seniors rest for some time and then the youngsters are given more opportunity. Today they got the opportunity, maybe by default, not by design, but they showed what resilience and grit and determination is all about. So that is a request I would like to make to the management.
I think Sriram's request has already been understood by the selectors because the team that they've just announced for the first two such matches does have Washi in it as well.
Yes.
The only two names that I saw missing was, of course, Natarajan because Ishant is back and, of course, Prithvi Shaw, whose form was not that good.
Yes. Well, thank you for calling us, Sriram. Balaji on the phone line calling us from Chennai. Good evening, Balaji. What would you like to say?
Good evening, madam. So, very happy to see the historic win of India. But I could see, I was watching the match right from They won right from the first, till the last. So I have not even had my breakfast or something like that. To that extent, I was so glued to the TV that my wife was shouting at me all the time. So that's apart. The wonderful thing was actually, to be honest with you, I wanted Australia to win because I wanted, as a team, I thought Australia is more better placed, and I wanted to win. They wanted to win. That was my whole thing going on in the mind. But actually, when the things are changing and things are moving, and when I saw the previous match, like Ashwin and what is the name, Shankar. I mean, not Shankar, somebody else. Then Ashwin and Sundar. So they were all playing such a wonderful game.
Yes.
That my whole heart was going towards them. So the point was, so much like in the sense that Shardul Thakur and where Ashwin was playing such a wonderful game and was standing with all sorts of bruises and other things, and particularly Cheteshwar Pujara also. When they started doing like that, my heart melted actually. My heart was really melting. I thought I really wanted India to win.
Yes, absolutely. Mr. Balaji, in fact, what you said is not just true for you, but I think a lot of people who otherwise don't avidly watch cricket, for example, me, unlike Vinay or other panelists here, I don't think anybody could have stayed away, and it was heartwarming to really watch it. I know of so many people who had moments where they actually got teary-eyed.
Yes.
They did get that emotional, because that's the kind of game we actually got to witness. Before I go to Bharat, Vinay, you wanted to say something?
No, I just wanted to say, Balaji, if his initial wish had come true, he would be the most unpopular man in Chennai today. Remember the
He
three
wouldn't have then called us to tell us this.
superstars in the current Indian squad who gave us the victory.
But Bharat, has it, what was the response there, within your own circles, people you spoke to, about Indian team's performance, and what was their reaction?
I was on air. I was doing radio commentary for one of the digital channels here during the winning moments, and I was on air with the likes of Ian Healy and Simon O'Donnell, doyens of Australian cricket, and who've been doing commentary for so many years. Brad Haddon was another one. They were in awe of this India, like I said. They just kept saying the same thing. They're like, if this was a boxing ring, Australia just punching this Indian team over and over again, but this Indian team just keeps bouncing back. So, during the last 5 days, there would be periods where they would be like, okay, finally, I think Australia have pinned them to the ground. They are not jetting up from there. But they would just find some ways of getting up. At 6 for 186, or 186 for 6 in the first innings, India were in deep trouble. But then they just found Washington Sundar and Shardul Thakur, and that partnership just went on and on and on. And it was the Australians who were getting desperate. And I think they'll just view Indian cricket very, very differently from this point on. You guys spoke about Virat Kohli and the comments about what this Indian team could do after he left. That also has a lot to do with the fact that this whole tour was built around Virat Kohli. From an Australian perspective, he was on TV. I saw more of Virat Kohli on the TV and newspapers here than I would have in India. It was like Virat Kohli versus Australia. So when he left, It was all about, and he left after 36 all out. So it was all about, oh my God, who's going to lift this team? But what India have shown is the likes of Ajinkya Rahane as captain, Ashwin for me was the man of the series, and I'm not just saying this because his mother is here. Cheteshwar Pujara, India has been pushed into a corner over and over again in this series, but from every corner, a new hero has emerged. And you're talking about 20 heroes at the end of the day who have been responsible for India today, creating history.
Yeah, absolutely. 20 heroes who've created this history and given us an unforgettable memory. I also have Mr. Dinesh Lad, Shardul Thakur's coach, who's on the phone line. Unfortunately, there's been a last-minute tech glitch, which is why he's not live with us. But Mr. Dinesh Lad, good evening. Thank you for joining us. And
thank you.
Congratulations to you. How would you rate Shardul's performance?
It's brilliant. Shardul, the way Shardul played this test match is great, because he performed in both these things, in bowling and batting, and way they do the partnership. I am very much congratulated to the Washington Sundar family. The way Washington played in this match, great. Well, really, they played great, and because of them only, I thought we win the match. Because if they are not performing that first inning, we will allow them to 200 somewhere, and we lost the match. And because of Washington and Shardul, we win the match.
Mr. Lad, I had a question for you.
Yeah.
I think your ward and all the other family members whose loved ones are part of the squad. I mean, they're young, but they're now heroes and examples for the rest of the country and for the youngsters as well. And I think it's very important that the rest of the country should know their stories. Shardul, for instance, Mr. Lad, correct me if I'm wrong, at one point of time was fighting obesity. He had a weight problem and he overcame that. And now we have a situation where he's probably one of the fittest players, one of the most hard-working bowlers that you know of. And he's not only just a bowler, he's now become into an all-rounder, much like Washi. So India has actually found two all-rounders and not
definitely.
one.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit more about his journey with how he overcome the odds.
When I saw the Shardul, we playing against the match against us, against Swamigandan school. I saw his bowling that time. I thought he's the fastest in Mumbai in that particular age group. And he scored somewhere 78 runs and he took 5 wickets against us. But they lost the match. After the completion of the match, I asked Shardul, can you join our school? So I told him, you just tell your parent to contact me. That time his father is there. I told his father, if Shardul came to Mumbai, we will play top-level cricket in Mumbai because he's staying far away from Mumbai.
He was in
Almost
Palghar.
2.5 hours journey is there.
That's right.
So his father refused it because he's gone in the 10th standard and he said education is very important because if you're not this thing in cricket, so I don't know what happened. But I called him every time, in that time, February month is there. I called him up to May, somewhere mid-May. 20 times I called them, what happened, what you have decided. But they tell, sir, nahi, let it be, because it is very far and 10th standard is there. So one day I called, I told my wife that I want to keep one boy at our house. So wife surprisingly see me and then she told, it's your house. Whatever you want to do. Then I called Shardul's father and tell them that we are keeping Shardul at my home. And that year Shardul came to Mumbai in my house at Borivali. And that year he scored in school match 168. Then in that he scored 6 sixes. He hit 6 sixes. He's the third person in the world after Gary Sobers and Ravi Shastri. And he limelight in that and he selected for Mumbai team, under 15 team. And rest you know.
Absolutely. So, Tanvi, I mean, here is a story. Here is a mother who's okay with her son batting in extreme pain. You have a sister who's confirmed to us that they had a strict father who ensured that he became a good boy and a winner. And you have a coach who kept a ward in his own home, convinced his wife to do that, and all three of them end up playing for India. I mean, what a remarkable story this is.
Yes, discipline and a lot of strict rules in our younger days, and look where you can reach with the kind of teachings and learnings you get from your families. Shalja wants to come in. Yeah, Shalja, go ahead, please.
Yes, I'd like to say thanks and many congratulations to Shardul's coach for doing what he did for Shardul and giving a gem for Indian cricket.
Okay, so there's a message from Washington's sister to Shardul's coach. But Shailaja, I also wanted to ask you this question because one of our viewers has actually messaged me saying that did your dad scold Washington for playing that shot in which he got out, the reverse sweeping that essentially when we were just a few runs away from victory? Did he get a scolding for that yet?
So happy and overwhelmed.
Today we were all so happy and overwhelmed that dad chose not to scold, but just tell him that you shouldn't have played that. Probably he just spoke about it, just didn't scold because we are all so proud of Washi already, and just a little bit of corrections that he told, that his views. That is all. He didn't scold. We're all so happy and proud of what Washi did.
And Chitra, to you, what special plans? Yes.
He's right in, and I'm very sure Washi's dad had no reasons to scold us. Have to cherish.
Chitra, in fact, I wanted to ask you what special plans to welcome back.
But nevertheless, we would have been very happy.
Yeah, Shailaja.
Yeah, we would have been very happy if he had been not out and come out victoriously. That would have been even more special. But we're so happy for what he did. Yeah.
Yes, for another time, for another series where we will get to see him do a lot more. After all, he's just 21 years old. Chitra, my question to you was, what are the plans to welcome him back? Of course, all of the entire country is going to have a special welcome back plans for when the team gets back, when that is. But back home, what is the mother planning for the star cricketer?
See, first of all, they have to quarantine themselves for at least 1 week.
Yes.
It's early for me to plan any celebration, and they have to get home. They have to quarantine themselves. Then we obviously will have our own parties and whatnot. Like that's always be there.
Yes.
And definitely Ashwin is very happy, and we are going to cherish this moment a lot, and we are going to really have a very good time. Like let him get back.
Chitra, Ravichandran and Shailaja Sundar, thank you so much, and a big congratulations to you, and thank you so much for what you have done all your life in contributing to and giving us these stars that we have in our country today. Bharat continues to stay with us, and so does Vinay Tewari, but I just want to go across to Aarti Subramaniam, who's joining us from our newsrooms. Like when I told you in the beginning, we've broken this down into various aspects of why this victory is so significant and what were the odds that our team overcame. First part of it was injuries, but that's not where it ended, Aarti. There were also the mind games.
Well, that's become a hallmark of Australian cricket. Now they like to play their cricket aggressively, they play it hard. It doesn't always win them any fans, but that's just the way they are. And mental disintegration, I think a concept that was popularized by Steve Waugh still is something that exists. Mental disintegration, or mind games as we call it, is not something that just the Australian cricketers practice, but it also extends to their media and their fans. It's a little bit of a clique that ensures that the visiting squad is always given a bit of a rough run. And India actually overcame that. They overcame the mind games as well. I'm going to tell you how. It was the Sydney Test, of course. There was racial abuse that India faced. The Sydney Test is the Sydney crowd is actually a very, very hostile crowd. It's not the first time that this has happened. In fact, Ravichandran Ashwin himself has said in the past that they have faced racial abuse. It's something that a lot of visiting squads have faced in Sydney. 2 days in a row that happened. In fact, even in the Brisbane Test, the crowds were giving Mohammad Siraj a tough time. Thankfully, there was no racial abuse, but that continued, and we overcame the crowds. In fact, the Indian team handled it with extreme maturity and grace. Just went and complained. We had 6 spectators who were removed. But that did not allow India to be on the back foot. It did not take the kind of pressure you are when you face that kind of racial abuse. You did not see it in Siraj one bit. Steve Smith, now he's somebody who has had a roller coaster of a journey ever since Sandpaper Gate. He's come back into the team. He's obviously no longer captain, and people thought Sandpaper Gate really would have changed him, would have mellowed him. But the video that you see on your screen right now made a lot of people question, is this the same Steve Smith that we're seeing again? Because he was caught on camera scruffing the guard marks that was set by Rishabh Pant during the drinks break. It is something that did not go down well. The Australians have repeatedly said that Steve Smith had no intention of doing it. Tim Paine said so. Justin Langer said so. They said that this was not intentional at all. But it is something, in fact, that will get under your skin if you're a batsman, throws you off gear a bit. India overcame that as well. Tim Paine, actually, speaking of Tim Paine, he's had a woeful series as captain and also as keeper. He is somebody who's come under a lot of scrutiny. He was pushed into the limelight after Sandpaper Gate. But we have all heard this famous video of him and Ashwin engaging in a little bit of banter. And I think that banter is going to come back and haunt him now, because in that specifically he says, we'll see you at the Gabba. And now I think India's had the last word of that. But that entire episode with Ashwin was something that was so uncalled for, but throughout that, even as Vinay was saying, Ashwin maintained his composure. He didn't fall down to any level. He didn't stoop down to any level, but it was an engaging banter, no doubt, but something perhaps that Tim Paine could have kept out of entirely. Matthew Wade, another player who perhaps conducted himself in a rather unbecoming manner. He was mocking Ashwin. He tried to disrupt his focus. In fact, during that Sydney Test, when Vihari was batting in such injury and such pain, Wade actually threw the ball straight at him, unmindful of the fact that here's a player who's actually playing on one leg. There was no apology after that. In fact, at some point, Matthew Wade even fell down and pretended like he was being injured, like Ashwin. Again, in very, very poor taste, completely unsportsmanship. But in that test match, Ashwin and Vihari stood tall and they did not allow any of the antics around them to get to them. Finally, it was a series where, despite all of that, racial abuse, whether it was the Australian sledging, despite all of that, India kept its composure, came into the last test with actually no expectations at all, because everyone thought this was going to be, the headline was India A versus Australia, and then they actually overcame all those mind games around them to emerge victorious.
Yes, and something has to be said about how we've come to this point where we've managed to not get unnerved by anything that the Aussies throw at us, whether it's on field or off field, all the games that they play, all the kind of mind games that they play. Aarti, thanks so much for actually collating all of that together and refreshing our memories of what all really happened. Let's also say good evening to Amarjeet Saini, Navdeep Saini's father, who joins us right now, and Hemang Badani, former cricketer, also with us this evening. सबसे पहले तो मैं सैनी जी के पास जाना चाहूँगी. सैनी जी, नमस्कार, and आपको congratulations. Your son, a part of this team that's won this series. जो series जीती उसमें वो थे. हालांकि अभी आपकी उनसे कब बात हो पाई और क्या उनकी इंजरी का क्या स्टेटस है अभी?
नमस्कार मैडम जी. नवदीप नाल ਤਾਂ ਮੇਰੀ ਗੱਲ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋਈ ਜੀ ਅੱਜ
जी.
फोन नहीं आया जी आज.
अच्छा
जी, पिच कब हुई आपसे आखिरी बार बात आपकी?
ਉਹਦੀ ਪਰਸੋਂ ਚੌਥੇ ਗੱਲ ਹੋਈ ਸੀ ਜੀ.
जी जी.
ਹਾਂ 2-3 ਦਿਨ ਪਹਿਲੇ ਗੱਲ ਹੋਈ ਸੀ, ਹੁਣ ਹੋਈ नहीं हैगी. आज आया नहीं, ਹੁਣ आएगा ਹੁਣ थोड़ी देर तक फोन जी.
सैनी साहब, मैं आप इस वक्त हमारे चैनल के माध्यम से हम भारत को थोड़ा सा आपकी भी कहानी बताना चाहते हैं, क्योंकि हम लोग का ये बहुत विश्वास है कि भारतीय टीम की सक्सेस के पीछे उनके परिवार ने जो अथक परिश्रम किया है, जो सैक्रिफाइसेस किए हैं, वो बड़ा अहम है. और आपका तो रोल बहुत अहम रहा है. आप हरियाणा में एजुकेशन डिपार्टमेंट में ड्राइवर थे और हमें ये बताया गया कि नवदीप सैनी को खेलते समय इतने पैसे नहीं होते थे कि वो अपने लिए किट खरीद ले या जूता खरीद ले या कुछ खरीद ले, और उसने 300 रुपये में टेनिस बॉल क्रिकेट खेलना शुरू किया, जिससे घर में थोड़े से पैसे आए. और आपकी जो मेहनत है या आपका जो परिश्रम है, उसी का नतीजा है शायद कि ऊपर वाले की ये कृपा थी कि वो टेनिस बॉल खेलने से उसको तेज बॉल करने की ऐसी आदत हुई कि साहब वो भारत का नाम रोशन कर रहा है. क्या कहेंगे साहब, मतलब ये एक रिमार्केबल स्टोरी है.
मैं तो सर बहुत, मैंने तो मालिक ने बहुत कुछ देता. मालिक का ਅਸੀਂ ਸ਼ੁਕਰਗੁਜ਼ਾਰ ਹਾਂ ਵੀ ਪਰਮਾਤਮਾ ਤੇਰਾ ਲੱਖ ਲੱਖ ਸ਼ੁਕਰਗੁਜ਼ਾਰ ਹੈ ਵੀ ਮੇਰੇ ਬੱਚੇ ਤੇ ਇੰਨੀ ਮਿਹਰ ਕੀਤੀ. ਮੇਰਾ ਬੱਚਾ ਅੱਜ ਬੁਲੰਦੀਆਂ ਛੂ ਰਿਹਾ, ਇੰਨੀ ਉੱਚਾ ਪਹੁੰਚ ਗਿਆ, ਅੱਜ ਇੰਡੀਆ ਟੀਮ ਵਿੱਚ ਖੇਡਦੇ ਆ. ਹਾਂਜੀ, ਹੁਣ ਆਸਟ੍ਰੇਲੀਆ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇੰਡੀਆ ਸਾਡਾ ਜਿੱਤਿਆ ਤੇ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਬੜੀ ਖੁਸ਼ੀ ਆ. ਅਸੀਂ ਸਾਰੇ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਵਧਾਈ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਆ, ਸਾਰੇ ਦੇਸ਼ ਨੂੰ ਵਧਾਈ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਆ ਵੀ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਮਿਹਰ ਕਰੀ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਤੇ, ਵੀ ਚੜ੍ਹਦੀਆਂ ਕਲਾ ਬਖਸ਼ੀ ਮੇਰੇ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਤੇ.
So just to translate for the rest of the country, because they may not have understood him speaking in Punjabi, he's saying he wants to thank God and he says that he's very blessed that God has actually blessed his family despite all odds. His son has actually overcome all of it and has, made the country proud and made his family proud, and of course his own sacrifices have all made him all very proud.
जी, अमरजीत जी, आपने कभी सोचा था या पहली बार जब ये बात हुई कि वो क्रिकेट खेलेगा और कहाँ तक जाएगा, उसके बारे में हमें थोड़ा बताएं. आज पूरी देश आपकी बात सुन रहा है.
मैडम जी, 6ठी 7वीं क्लास में, 5वीं 6ठी क्लास में पढ़ता था. हमारे यहाँ तरावड़ी में गुरुद्वारा साहब जाते थे हम. हमारे यहाँ 9वीं पातशाही का गुरुद्वारा साहब है जी. तो हम पंचमी वाले दिन वहां जाते हैं, मेला भरता है यहाँ पंचमी वाले दिन. तो जैसे वहां जाते थे तो ये कहता था डैडी बैट बॉल लेना है. तो हम उस समय में बच्चा था छोटा सा, प्लास्टिक की बॉल ले लेनी, वहीं से प्लास्टिक का बैट ले लेना. तो ये दोनों भाई अपना घर में लगे रहते थे. तो खेलते खेलते बच्चा 17 बुलंद हो गया जी, ये +2 करके तरौड़ी तो ਫਿਰ ਇਹ ਕਰਨਾਲ ਦਿਆਲ ਸਿੰਘ ਕਾਲਜ ਚ ਪੜ੍ਹਨ ਲੱਗ ਗਿਆ ਜੀ. ਜਦ ਉੱਥੇ ਪੜ੍ਹਨ ਲੱਗ ਗਿਆ, ਉੱਥੇ ਹੁਣ ਬੱਚੇ ਕ੍ਰਿਕਟ ਤਾਂ ਖੇਡਦੇ ਸੀ. ਉੱਥੇ ਸੁਮਿਤ ਨਰਵਾਲ ਜੀ ਆਏ ਜੀ, ਉਹ ਵੀ ਕ੍ਰਿਕਟ ਦੇ ਪਲੇਅਰ ਆ ਜੀ. ਜਦੋਂ ਉੱਥੇ ਆਏ ਤਾਂ ਬੱਚਾ ਖੇਡ ਰਿਹਾ ਸੀ, ਬੱਚੇ ਨੂੰ ਦੇਖਿਆ ਉਹਨੇ ਵੀ ਬੱਚਾ ਬਹੁਤ ਵਧੀਆ ਖੇਡ ਰਿਹਾ. ਤੇ ਜਦ ਮੈਚ ਖਤਮ ਹੋਇਆ, ਸੁਮਿਤ ਨਰਵਾਲ ਜੀ ਨੇ ਇਹਨੂੰ ਆਪਣੇ ਕੋਲ ਬੁਲਾਇਆ ਵੀ नवदीप मेरे पास आओ. भी पूछा आपका कोच कौन है? नवदीप बोला मेरा कोच कोई नहीं है, मैं तो वहीं अपने तरावड़ी में लोकल सड़कों पे ही खेलता हूँ. सेलर है हमारे यहाँ पे, तो वहां पे खेलता हूँ। तो सुमित नरवाल जी बोले तो आप मेरे साथ दिल्ली चलोगे? तो हमारे पास पैसे नहीं थे। नबी बोला भी सर पैसे पूसे तो हमारे पास इतने हैं नहीं, हम दिल्ली कैसे जाएंगे? वो कहने लगे नहीं, आप मेरे साथ चलो, मैं सब कुछ आपका करूंगा। तो सुमित नरवाल जी इसको दिल्ली में ले गए जी। वहां पे जाके उन्होंने गौतम गंभीर जी को मिलाया। गौतम गंभीर जी को मिलाने के बाद उन्होंने 5-6 महीने इसकी बॉलिंग देखी तो उनके मनपसंद बच्चा आ गया। तो फिर वहां पे रणजी मैच चलने थे दिल्ली में, तो इसकी नवदीप की सिलेक्शन हो गई क्योंकि गौतम गंभीर जी कैप्टन थे, उनकी वजह से इसकी वहां दिल्ली में सिलेक्शन हो गई। तो जब भी ये पहला मैच मैडम जी खेला तो इसको वहां पे 2 विकेटें 3 विकेटें मिली। उस मैच में वीरेंद्र सहवाग जी भी खेल रहे थे। 2 मैच दूसरी विकेट मिलने के बाद वीरेंद्र सहवाग जी ने इन्हों अपनी टोपी ਇਹਦੇ ਸਿਰ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਪਾਤੀ ਜੀ ਤੇ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਹਾਂ ਨਵੀ ਸ਼ਾਬਾਸ਼ ਤੈਨੂੰ 1 ਵਿਕਟ ਹੋਰ ਮਿਲੇਗੀ। ਉਹ ਪਹਿਲੇ ਮੈਚ 'ਚ ਇਹਨੂੰ ਫਿਰ 3 ਵਿਕਟਾਂ ਮਿਲੀਆਂ ਜੀ। ਤਾਂ ਉਸ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਫਿਰ ਇਹ ਤਰਾਵੜੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਰਿਹਾ, ਫਿਰ ਇਹ ਦਿੱਲੀ ਰਹਿਣ ਲੱਗ ਗਿਆ ਜੀ। ਦਿੱਲੀ ਰਹਿ ਕੇ ਫਿਰ ਉੱਥੇ ਹੁਣ ਪ੍ਰੈਕਟਿਸ ਕਰ ਰਿਹਾ। ਉਹ ਪੂਰੀ ਮਿਹਨਤ ਲਗਨ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਕੰਮ ਕਰ ਰਿਹਾ ਮੈਡਮ ਜੀ।
Actually, what Mr. Sairi is just saying is possibly the first question that I would want to ask Hemang Badari. Because, you know, he's just mentioning Sumit Narwal. Sumit Narwal, for those who don't know, is a cricketer who's played for Delhi, is a left-hand batsman and who also belongs to Karnal, the same district from where Navdeep Saini comes from. And he credits Sumit Narwal spotting him, and then, of course, Gautam Gambhir literally fighting with the DDCA to get him in the Delhi squad.
So just to add to it as a translation, for, if you know, so for our viewers as well, Amarji ji hame bata rahe the that the fact is that he was just playing with absolutely no guidance, no coach, spotted and then brought to Delhi, where then Gautam Gambhir and then Virendra Sehwag, you know, kind of guided him further.
Absolutely.
That's how it works in our country.
That's how it works in our country.
That's how talent is spotted in far off corners, smaller interiors, and then brought to the spotlight, and then that's how we win our trophies, Hemang.
There's immense talent in our country, without a doubt. And before I go on, सत श्री अकाल पाजी, आपके बेटे ने हमको बहुत ही अच्छी जीत दिलाई है. इट वाज आउटस्टैंडिंग, बहुत अच्छा लगा. और आपका बलिदान है, उसका हार्ड वर्क है, उसकी मेहनत है, उसकी लगन है. उस कारण उसने भारत के लिए खेला है और बहुत ही बढ़िया जीत दिलाई है हमें. शुक्रिया आपका और आपका बलिदान का. थैंक यू सो मच. And coming back to what you were asking me is that I mean, it's one of those wonderful stories that I keep hearing in the last few years. There's one about Natarajan, there's one about Shardul Thakur, there's one about Navdeep Saini. Now I get to understand that he comes in from a very humble background, and to have come out of that, to have played for India and to have succeeded and been a part of such a side, it's history. He will remember this all his life. Like I remember the 2001 series, I was just a part of the side. I didn't get to play, but I was the 12th man, and that whole series by itself is a huge memory for me. It's something which will stay with me all my life. But coming back to the match and the series, I think it's a fitting reply to the Australians. I mean, if you go back and see after the first test match, the way a lot of the Australian captains, the ex-captains spoke about us, I thought they spoke very poorly of us, and they said that it's going to be a whitewash, it's going to be 4-0. And these are guys who are players who've done exceedingly well for themselves. And for us to have had our second string side and have gone on to win the way we did, commendable job. I mean, half of our side is back in India. Captain had to come back for family reasons. A lot of them got injured on the tour. We went through racial abuse. We went through a lot of abuse. We went through a lot of banter there. We also were unwelcome at Brisbane. Let's not forget that. I think the minister there said, if you can't follow the quarantine rules, don't even bother coming to Brisbane. You might as well stay where you are.
Yeah.
To go ahead with all of that, to put up with all these restrictions, these situations, shortcomings that we faced, captain going back, Bumrah not there, Vihari not there, Ashwin not there. The list was endless. Ajinkya Rahane given the captaincy. After that 36 all-out that India went through, the way the whole side has showed character, I'm a proud Indian today. I mean, be it the young boys, be it a Siraj. Again, let's not forget Siraj. He's lost his father. He hasn't come back after that.
Yeah.
Natarajan has had a baby. He hasn't seen the baby yet. I mean, these are guys who are committed to our cause. These are guys who want to be there, donning the Indian hat, proudly donning it. and saying, you know what, we probably may not have been in the first 11 to begin with, but that's okay. Given the chance, test match number 3, test match number 4, these guys have put their hands up. Shubman Gill has put his hand up. Rishabh Pant going through a lot of brickbat. A lot of people kept talking about him, saying, is he doing well for India? Does he need to be there? But boy, what an innings. Cheteshwar Pujara, someone like a Shane one kept going hammer and tongs at him, saying he's batting so slowly. That's not the way it should be played. Even though it's test cricket, he needs to move on a little bit. But to me, the biggest difference in the entire series is the number of balls Pujara has played. 900 balls is what Pujara has played. To me, that is one of those things that has made India win the test series. Yes, Rishabh Pant there, Shubman Gill batted well, Mohammad Siraj getting a fifer, Shardul Thakur having an amazing series with amazing test match rather with a 7-4 and getting 60 in the first innings. Washington Sundar picking up wickets. But I'll tell you what, it all adds up without a doubt. But at the end of it, you needed someone like Pujara to hold fort there. You need guys like him to hold fort there. He was knocked on the head a few times. He was knocked over the body. I think about 11 times. But to keep hanging in there, to keep batting in there, that to me is brilliant. And to me, on the whole, hats off to the Indian side, hats off to the whole management who have gone on to win with a second string side. Australia, unfortunately, all they could do was talk.
Before I come to Bharat and I let him go, Hemang, one other question I wanted to ask you, and I'm asking this question because you have seen that aspect of life in cricket in India very closely, much more closely than anyone else. And you know, two people, Navdeep Saini's father, who's with us, Amarjit Singh Saini Sahab wahan hai. Siraj, since you mentioned, his father has a very similar story of, you know, he was an auto rickshaw driver and how literally struggled to bring his son up and ensured that, you know, he was a powerhouse of talent. So you already have two fathers. One, unfortunately, is not with us. Saini Sahab is here. What I wanted to ask you, what is in some ways, isn't that an indication that if people are chosen on merit and you just allow talent to flower without any fear of favor, India and Indians can do wonders. I mean, there is no better example of that. When you really have people just coming through and bursting through on sheer talent and merit, you can't hold them back. I mean, there is no other if and but then required.
No, without a doubt. And I think a lot of the credit should also go to the BCCI and the IPL. A lot of these cricketers get to play the IPL at a very young age. They get exposed to playing with a lot of international players. I didn't have that exposure, not just me, players who played at the time when we played. There was a big gap that we had to bridge from domestic cricket and playing for our country. Now with the IPL, you start rubbing shoulders with Steven Smith, you start rubbing shoulders with Ben Stokes, Pat Cummins. You have everyone turning around to play. So you don't feel overawed when you go on to play for the national side. You've already faced them, you've already bowled to them. You kind of get a feeling of belonging at the highest level. And it becomes a little more easier for the transition to go on to play for the national side. And also one more thing that I have to add here is that India in the recent times have played a lot of A cricket. India A. They've traveled extensively to a lot of Sena nations where we've struggled in the past. And now to me, I think that's a brainchild of Rahul Dravid. I think he's the one who's been behind this and he's ensured that India plays a lot of series against these top sides. The more you travel, the more you play on different surfaces, the more you play different environment, you start getting used to it. It becomes that much more easier for you to go and actually go there as a national side play, as a part of the national side and go and perform there. So I think kudos to the BCCI for the IPL and a lot of India tours.
Oh yes, absolutely. Hemang Madani, you know, what you're saying there, let me take that point across to Bharat as well. Bharat, because, you know, this is usually one of my favorite questions. Who do you credit this victory, or rather will credit the way this team has shaped up in the last few years?
I think so many people need to be credited here. I think the team management has a lot to do with it, and Hemang will agree with me. You guys spoke about eliminating that fear of failure, which is what we've seen Ravi Shastri, Bharat Arun, and Sridhar and the whole coaching group have done with this team. There is no fear of failure, and we saw it in this test match. The fear of failure, the pressure was all on Australia, and you could see it from the beginning, the way they batted, the way they fielded. The tense faces, Tim Payne, or even the Cam Green, or even the bowlers. Whereas, like, India had nothing to lose in this test match, and they played like they have nothing to lose in every test match after that 36 all-out. You know, at 36 all-out, after that, they lose their captain, they lose their key bowler, they lose their dignity as well a little bit after 36, the lowest test score ever in their history. Yeah. To overcome all that, you just need to push everything to the back burner, almost like play every match like it's a new game, and just express yourself. We hear the word intent being thrown around a lot these days, and that's what it's all about. And Hemang is so right about the IPL having played a huge role in it.
Yeah.
I mean, today we saw a 21-year-old debutant hook the best fast bowler of his generation. Under pressure, Australia had bowled 2 tight overs at that point, but just the audacity to play that shot, and then the way Shubman Gill took down Mitchell Starc. Mitchell Starc is the bully of the Australian bowling attack, right? He's the one who has the pace. He'll come and bowl short. But the way he took him down in that 1 over and he batted him or smashed him out of the attack.
Yeah.
So that has a lot to do with the IPL. They're not overawed by. Australia can call it the Gabba or whatever they want to call it. But these Indian kids are like used to playing in front of big crowds. Like Hemang said, they're used to rubbing shoulders with the best in the world. So I don't think.
हाँ जी अमरजीत जी.
हाँ जी नहीं मैं वैसे
जी
बोल पे जी
जी अच्छा इनफैक्ट अमरजीत जी मैं आपसे यही सवाल पूछना चाह रही थी कि जब आपकी बात होएगी नवदीप से तो आपकी तरफ से और परिवार की तरफ से पहली चीज क्या बोलेंगे आप उसको?
मैं तो वो पुत्र शाबाश सर बल्ले बल्ले कराती हाँ जी साडी बल्ले बल्ले कराती और क्या जी हाँ जी भाई देश ते बधाइयां दे रहे हैं
जी जी
हाँ जी
जी
बेस्ट ऑफ लक
बल्कि पूरे देश की तरफ से पूरे भारत की तरफ से भी बोलिएगा उसको बधाइयां और उसने इतना अच्छा खेला. शुक्रिया हमसे बात करने के लिए अमरजीत सैनी साहब. थैंक यू सो मच टू हेमंग बदानी एंड भारत as well for taking the time out and speaking to us. Really great having all of you here. I want to very quickly go across to some of our viewers. Mr. Ramesh is on the phone line calling us from Hyderabad. Good evening. What would you like to say?
Yeah, good evening. Thank you for involving me, and I feel a great pleasure. We all jumped in joy when the winning runs came.
Yes.
And Indians not only played the cricket, they played physical fighting. It's really physical fighting. They have taken body blows, and they have come up. I appreciate all the families back home, keeping them, giving them good backup. Now, I think the BCCI or the selection committee will have tough time to select, cricketers for the next tour. Perhaps my suggestion to selectors is to have, 2 parallel teams and send to 2 countries to play.
Oh yes, a lot more cricket for us to watch. Great idea even for the cricketers who do get the chance, because obviously we have so much of talent. Thank you so much for calling us, Mr. Ramesh. Rajendra Sharma on the phone line from Jaipur. Good evening.
Yeah, good evening. We all congratulate not Team India, Team Young India, I would like to say that. So it's really, and I would say that this is the right age, and the chances should be given more to these youngsters. Although the experience always counts, but these youngsters, and today it's not only the power game; it's a mental game.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so they should be given more chance. And I request the selectors that they should keep the selection politics out of this. Then only such actions takes place.
Oh yes, absolutely. Give more chance to young India is definitely, I think, a message that everybody will agree with. Vinay, hold on to that thought. I'm going to come back because this is a special broadcast and we're going to go on till 10 o'clock. We've got lots more of special guests who will be joining us. Avid cricket fans and of course friends and family and coaches of the stars who've done us proud. So stay tuned. A very short break and lots more on the other side. Stay with me.